What is up, you guys? Welcome to our lunar workshop. This is our new moon solar eclipse. It was a partial solar eclipse in Virgo. So this month we had a new moon that began the month in the first degree of Virgo. And now unusually we have a black moon, which is two new moons in a month. And our second new moon is in the final degree of Virgo, the 29th degree. So we have really spanned the spectrum of Virgo over the last few weeks as we have gone through our deep and rigorously honest self-inventory in an attempt at atonement and teshuvah. And so this month, the month of Virgo, is really all about ending our spiritual year on a high note and going back and preparing ourselves for our cosmic birthday and our cosmic court date every year. And we are going before the courts, where the scales are going to be weighed. And this is like our evaluation, our yearly evaluation. And God is going to wonder, and the angels are going to wonder, because we have positive angels and we have negative angels, right? Our positive deeds and thoughts and actions and positive transformation produce energy waves that become positive angels. They are forces of energy that help us and assist us. And same for our negative deeds, our negative actions, our negative feelings and intentions. They created negative angels that stand as our prosecutors, right? And they seek to have their justice, right? They want payment. So the angels are very exacting. And they're very one-track minded. They're like accountants. They're not going to let anything slide. Whereas if we confess to the Creator directly, then it bypasses the angels' testimony in the case that they're pleading for us or against us. And we get better judgment. We get better judgment when we go before God, because it's like when we take it upon ourselves to own our stuff, it looks better than when we're being turned in, right? When we turn ourselves into the Creator, we are showing that we're taking responsibility, that we understand and acknowledge are the times that we have been off track or off path, or we've missed the mark through the year, you know? The word repentance often comes with this like shudder of ick. It feels very pious, feels very fear-based, and judgy. But really, repentance is about coming to a new understanding of something and having a renewal of consciousness and heart and soul and spirit, around the situation or around the issue. So it's like you're seeing things differently and you're feeling differently about it and you're having new consciousness. And so through that new consciousness and new awareness, it's like you're also transforming as a person, and now you're behaving differently, and now you're showing up differently because of that shift in consciousness. So we confess our wrongdoings through the year, and we go through an inventory of where we might have wanted to do things better or where we want to do things better moving forward. And we maybe write these things down, say them out loud, but commit them to heart. And then we set clear and purified intentions as to who we want to be moving forward into the new spiritual year. After our soul comes back, we get like this new soul for the year. Every year, it's like this refreshed, upgraded, repaired, refurbished soul. And so it's like, okay, now that we have this new clean slate, how do we want to show up moving forward? Who do we really want to be? And so we've been trying to examine our habits and our subconscious thoughts and examine our triggers when they've come up, and witness ourselves and how we are reacting to all of the noise and the volume and the issues on the outside as well as on the inside. And so we realize that who we are individually does affect the whole, because we are shining light or darkness through us. We are channels. And so our energy is influencing the world around us and others. And so what kind of world, how is our influence directing the world around us? Are we tipping the scales for the side of good, for the side of light, or are we tipping the scales for the side of darkness, and are we doing damage, So we become the kind of people who take that very seriously, and we have humility about it, and we want to do better. Not just for ourselves. It doesn't become just about healing for our own relief anymore. It becomes a feeling of a responsibility, not only for ourselves, but towards others, that we do not want to be agents of destruction, but we want to be beacons of light and creation. So tomorrow, this is the day of the new moon and the partial solar eclipse. So things that have been hidden are becoming illuminated. And we have seen the chaos turned up to 11 over this eclipse season. And I just was struck today and I thought, oh my gosh, what a blessing that, and it's so odd to say this, but what a blessing that the flotilla had all the trouble that they did. And the early attacks, the light, the creator can always hoist the enemy with their own petard. And what happened was, I believe that the timing was shifted so that the flotilla would not be traveling the final stretch into their targeted port of call during that eclipse chaos. It was a merciful slowing down. And I think that on the other side of this eclipse energy, I think that is when they have that momentum that whips them into the good, that protection of the forces of good are behind them and with them now. Now that there's not so much interference and outside force of like the eclipse energy. So I think that is good. And I also somehow find it amazing that they were delayed and now they're showing up during Rosh Hashanah. I mean, I just think it's such a wonder. So pray for everyone's well-being and good to prevail over this entire situation. So it's amazing. Let's see what else. So tomorrow, the nullification of the vows starts. We talked about Tishlik. I would highly recommend watching the weekly energy oracle forecast. We talk a lot about these things in detail in that video. But you can do Tishlik between now and tomorrow, which is confessing your sins and infusing them into bread and then casting that bread into water or into fire and letting them go. And that's part of the confession and then purification, the purging. It's like when we do want a spiritual truth to be revealed, that is why we do the physical action. We're bringing it into the material. And so then tomorrow, after the nullification of the vows, which is canceling out any idle speech that we made during the year, promises that we didn't fulfill, things that we didn't live up to, then we start into the proceedings of preparing our vessel to begin to connect with the light. And then our first action or event is tomorrow evening, where we do the ritual feast of Rosh Hashanah, and we eat the corresponding foods that have the connected consciousness, and these are like the representations of the prayers for the year, and our wishes and our intentions to do better. So then we eat the meal, and that brings down the light, and that kind of anchors it in. And then so the next 2 days are the heavy ritual, where we are praying, we're scanning Hebrew, we're praying the Psalms, we're blowing the shofar. And then that leads us into the window of the gap between now and Yom Kippur, where the light of the soul comes back down from the upper realms and comes back into our body during the completion of the fast of Yom Kippur and the final blowing of the shofar, I think 8 days from now. Okay, so let's get into the reading. We are in the Virgo new moon, which is feminine. This is the mutable earth sign, right? And Virgo is all about perfecting the self and serving humanity with humility, but Virgo can also be kind of haughty and overly critical. So we have to restrict the temptation to criticize and judge others, as well as criticizing and judging ourselves in a negative, not loving way. Right? Our self-reflection is not to beat ourselves up or run ourselves through the muck, but just to realize so that we can do better, like reviewing the play, right? In sports. Ooh, this is tied to early childhood fear. So the things that have been coming up in you that you are really wrestling against right now is directly tied to fears that you have suffered since childhood. Did you have scarcity in childhood? Did you have like a disruption in the home? Did you have insecurity during childhood? Was there a lot of conflict or turmoil in your house? Were you able to express yourself authentically, or did you have to just put on a mask to comply and to survive, right? So these days, there is a lot going on in the world that can bring up a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety and a lot of feelings of futility. And so it can activate that scared inner child within us. And so what about our childhood maybe implanted seeds that put fear in us that we had to stay in line and comply or else? Right? Especially with religious conditioning, particularly for those of us who grew up in either like extreme right-winged Christian households. Some of you might be deconstructing from like Christian nationalism or evangelicalism. My childhood revolved around a lot of evangelicalism that was centered around end times, kind of consciousness, and even I would describe at some degree hysteria. And so being in what we kind of casually refer to as the end of days these days, or the tribulations, whether or not this is going to lead to the end or just the end of a cycle, we don't know, but it's definitely times they are tribulating and they are revealing, lots of revelation happening, that's for sure. So I definitely believe in an archetypal apocalypse and revelation, but it's kind of happening to every generation at some point. But then in collective scenarios and collective mankind, it comes to these climaxes and peaks through cycles. So we are in the peak of a cycle for sure, and it is triggering the inner child. So this is really a good time to then go back and re-examine those childhood fears. The fears that we have now are tied to those fears that were implanted from an early point in our childhood. Okay, crossing us now is, I feel like, okay, pay attention to red flags. Okay, so pay attention to when you experienced these fears in childhood, or when you were made to feel this fear in childhood. Say it was part of indoctrination, perhaps, or maybe it was something less insidious than that. Maybe it was just the conditioning of society and expectations, but it put a fear in you. Maybe it was just financial insecurity that you grew up in, and maybe you were in a broken house and you just didn't have a lot of security or stability. How did you cope with that as a child? And it probably wasn't through healthy discourse and self-awareness and healthy reflection. It was probably in a way that was like escapist or avoidant. Like, think about the trauma responses of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Did you feel like you had to overperform or overgive to make everybody happy, to make you indispensable so that nobody would ever want to leave you or abandon you or reject you? Did you feel like you had to be perfect so that you didn't add one more problem to the house? Did you shut down and, isolate yourself from the group? Like, did you disappear into TV or what is it called? Efficient imagination? Maladaptive imagination, where you escape for hours and it like interrupts your actual reality. Did you have maladaptive, imagination going on? Like, what were those responses as a child? Because it's highly likely that you still have those manifesting as an adult. You're just not aware that that's what's going on. So if you have I know we're all like, oh, I want a little treat, right? But that's like that impulse high is like it's like become a coping mechanism, right? So we need to watch that so that we own our impulses and our impulses don't own us. But yes, there are red flags to pay attention to. So when you are feeling insecure, and you're feeling fearful, do you lean into codependency, right? Does that leave you vulnerable and open to the possibility of becoming enmeshed? When you are having red flags and your childhood fears and the things that are related to those at a root level are activated, what are you vulnerable to in those moments? What do you have a history of being vulnerable into slipping into? Are you prone to depression or hyperactive controlling behaviors like obsessive compulsiveness, escapism? Like, we're wanting to watch those things so that we can break those chains and we can be free of them and we can be a new person who has cosmic sovereignty and ownership of themselves and self-control. And that way, when we have those things, we can actually live more often from a state of free will rather than reflexive robotic responses. Okay, so the underlying cause or the subconscious influence here, you're going in circles. So this is subconscious patterning, showing itself, revealing itself, right? Negative patterns, cycles, stuck in a loop, repeating the same mistake, time for a new story. So this is our chance to break these cycles, right? We're seeing through our tendency to want to reflexively reach for those coping mechanisms or these behaviors that are reactive to the thing. This is the red flag to pay attention to, because this is going to help you see the pattern in order to break it finally, to be able to have your subconscious revealed so that you have greater insight and greater self-awareness and self-control. So the issue from the past that is now starting to clear up, it's like a lesson from the past that you've started to embody, so it's not going to be such an issue for you anymore. Okay, the situation has no more to give. There's nothing left for you here. Okay, I love this in this position, because to me, this is like saying the cosmic contract is up. Like, there's no more you can learn from continuously going through these lessons, right? It's like you're just hurting yourself at this point, and you're just burning daylight. You're burning sweet, precious time. So it's time for a change. It's time to stop going in circles. It's time to stop repeating the same patterns and mistakes, which come from the same consciousness. So if we can interrupt and disrupt the consciousness and shift that, or if we can change the way that we see things and perceive things and feel about things, then that is going to at least produce a different reflexive response. Now, our subconscious is working on what we believe deeply, and then also what we believe that we are worthy of and deserve. Now, inherently, we are 100% worthy and deserving just for being here, just for being alive, just for being a human being on earth. But our conditioning has interrupted our knowing of that, right? So we have an egoic conditioning and belief of our self-worth. So regardless of whether the fact that God says you're worthy, you're 100% worthy right out of the box, like you're deserving of your birthright and inheritance of the kingdom of heaven and fulfillment and goodness. But our ego has like crusted over this shell of negativity over that realization. And so our reality is sort of a reflection of how worthy we feel, how worthy we perceive ourselves to be, not a reflection of our wholeness and our worthiness that we inherently are, right? So it's not that you have to do something to grow your self-worth. Your self-worth is at 100%. You have the value. You're already a valuable entity. The thing that you have to shift is how you feel. Do you feel worthy? Do you perceive yourself as worthy? Do you understand your worthiness? Because your ego is getting in the way and making you not feel worthy. And so the portion that you're receiving is a reflection of your own concept of your worthiness, not your actual worthiness. Does that make sense? Your actual worthiness is always at 100%. It can never change. God's stamp of worthiness on you is unchanging. It's eternal. But our ego gets in the way, and our ego says, oh no, you won't receive this. You don't feel ready. You don't feel worthy. You don't feel deserving. And so I'm going to have you sabotage yourself now to keep yourself safe. And so we don't expand out of our safety zone, right? So this situation has no more to give. There's nothing left for you here. So the situation has no more to give. There's nothing left for you here. You will regret wasting any more time here. There is nothing more to be shared, given, or received here for the highest good. It's time to let go. The situation does not offer you true value that is authentic to you. Amazing. So this life, this old timeline that's no longer authentic to us anymore, it's a thing of the past, and we're moving forward, and we have a new timeline, new chapters beginning. And everything's been going so fast. It's like the cosmic remote control has been flipping through our channels so quickly, but now we're finally getting to a place where we can land and find our footing in our story. Okay, what's hanging over us now? Don't be jealous, okay? One of my nightly prayers and praying that I can get over myself and then over my demons of ignorance and wrath and gluttony and slothfulness and all of that, is that I will improve and not be covetous or envious or jealous. If God can help me process and help me get to the other side of that, so I don't feel, or I don't have a consciousness of envy and covetousness and jealousy, right? So that it's a low vibration, but it's also a good indicator of what your soul is attracted to about other people and what they're doing and what they have. It's like your soul is like, I can have that. I resonate with that. But you're just coming from a slightly twisted place of trying to take and push and feel like, well, I deserve this and I want it, you know? So we gotta pause. And instead of saying, oh, I don't like you because you have what I want and that makes me feel worse about myself, you say, you know what? I see that you have something that I want too, or I feel like I could do that, or maybe I could be like that, or I hope I could. So I'm going to see you as a beacon of what I can work towards. You've inspired me. You've made me hopeful. You've motivated me. You've shown me what's possible. Right? So hating on the person or wanting to have that because they got it more, right? Like working in a restaurant is a prime example. Every shift I try to go in and not do this, but we can't help it. We look around and we see like, oh my God, this person's section is so full and the hosts aren't bringing me any tables. Like, what's up with that? You know, like every night we're all like this. It just happens. And every night I go in and I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to evil eye. And me and my nephew, when my nephew worked there, we would do it together. We'd be like, and we last about 20 minutes. But yeah, so don't be jealous. Okay. Mirror, block. So it blocks what you want when you're jealous. But if you can embrace that jealousy when you see it and then let it show you what's possible, and then you bless the person, you say, oh my gosh, I want more goodness for them. It opens up more goodness for you. So jealousy blocks you from receiving the very thing that you want. It is a contracting energy that shuts down and closes your heart. But jealousy can be a helpful teacher. It can show you both what you believe is possible for you, but you feel you lack. And this pinpoints the assignment. Being happy for others helps you attract more of what you desire. All right, so that is crowning us right now. What is coming around the corner? A lesson you're meant to repeat. Oh my gosh, we've been warned. Pay attention to red flags. You're going in circles. Something is coming back. A lesson you're meant to repeat. My teacher, David, was just talking about this in his podcast when he was giving notes about the last few days of Teshuvah or Teshuvah. He was saying that once you declare that you don't want to be like something anymore, once you set these intentions of making this new start and setting setting your fresh foot forward, he was like, you will be attested one more time. And if you can pass that test, then you're golden, right? You're through it. And I tell myself this every shift too, and I still don't pass the test. So yes, you will make these declarations. You're saying like, I want to be this way and that way. And so you will be tested to see, okay, are you standing on business or are you talking out of your ass? Are you going to slide back into your old ways? Or are you going to really break this cycle and move forward? All right, so yeah, be expecting tests and lessons to be coming back, which is true anyway, because what happens on Rosh Hashanah is that the soul goes up into the upper realms. We're being judged, and we're also being cleansed and all of that, and new wiring is getting put in, and new applications, and the old hard drive is being wiped. And so then between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the different dimensions of our soul go through these tests, and these different dimensions correspond with different categories and like themes and like things that we work with in our lives. So it just so happens that the tests are built in the high holidays. And so there's a round of tests before, then there's a round of tests during, and then after Rosh Hashanah, there's another round of tests that like turbocharge and like super juice up your soul for the year. So, okay, how is our perspective affecting us right now? This is an emotional issue to overcome. So your emotions are in control, and they need to be balanced with dispassionate practicality. Listen to your emotions is not the same as listening to your heart. Your emotions are mutable like water, and they will pass. Get regular exercise and do other things that naturally stimulate your mood and might help you feel differently. An emotional wound or expectation is having too much influence over the situation, and nothing healthy and not healthy, and will cause issues. You can listen to your emotions without acting on them. Okay, so yes, all the intensity in the world right now is stirring up lots of emotions, right? Every group on earth right now is getting some poke in some way. And then we're all butting up against one another, and the rough edges are scraping, and everyone is facing very emotional issues right now. I mean, if you're not feeling tender and outraged and scared and everything else, then I don't know if you've heard about anything that's happened recently, but everything is just like one big shitstorm after another, right? And so it's very easy to get really emotional when you're trying to bear witness with an open heart, and feel and have compassion. But then there's also this requirement of us to be strong and to keep one foot on dry ground and maintain reason, and don't get too lost in the deluge of it all, in the grief of it all. We have to process it to some degree, or else it will become a malignant thing that sits in our system and makes us sick in every kind of way there is. But at the same time, it's like when Atreyu is going through the pits of sadness and the swamp of sadness, and the horse gets taken down in the tar pits of despair, right? Because he was just like, he couldn't fight it, and it just took him over, right? So what's affecting us right now, what may feel like is keeping us blocked or going in circles or feeling, completely futile and overwhelmed and unable to deal with it all. It's like just try to get some emotional distance from everything. Don't shut down your feelings, but just take a little bit of a step back so that you can get perspective, right? Being in and aware and up to date on every single thing right now. Too much of the time you need to take breaks, and I've been trying to do this for myself as well, because I've been very emotional, and it's taken a toll. But it's one of those things where you feel like you can't really complain because we have so much to be grateful for, and so it's sort of like this thing of just having humility and being so grateful for what we do have, and doing everything that we can to try to do good and try to reveal good and try to restrict the desire from the self to add any more darkness into the mix, right? So the outside influences affecting us now this is from the heart. So things are really tugging on our heartstrings. Core authentic desires, divine guidance, purpose, passion, influenced by a higher love. May seem illogical, the heart is ahead of the brain. Insight that holds truth, big truth. Be aware that if in pain or the individual, be aware that if the heart is in pain or the individual is asleep, the heart can be misinterpreted, right? So the heart has to be healthy. One has to get to know their heart and know how to hear past their own heart's wounds to hear the truth beneath all of that within the heart. Okay, so the next card is going to represent our hopes and fears. This is where your soul is calling you. Okay, yes. Okay, so the soul's calling can be both, it can give you both inspiration and hope, and also terror and fear, right? I mean, look at Jesus. Look at Yeshua, right? His calling was to be the King of Kings, the Messiah, the King of the universe. But that required some pretty heavy and intense sacrifices on his part, and something that filled him with absolute terror and dread, but he knew he had to do it, right? So our calling, we see that is the main example that we're given to model ourselves after. So we know that things can go awry, and we're not guaranteed a rose garden, are we? And so when we answer the soul's calling, it comes with a humble sense of awe, right? If we are really realistic about our soul's calling, it's going to ask something of us too. We don't just get to receive it. It's something that we give to. So it costs something and it requires something of us. And so we don't know where the soul is going to take us, right? Sometimes it takes us into unfamiliar terrain and into times of uncertainty. And sometimes it can feel like a roller coaster ride. But the soul also takes us to where we will reach our highest heights and feel our deepest depths and be privy to a greater truth that can only be known through lived experience. So this is something that it is both awe-inspiring and terrifying, and that is the fear of God. Being in awe and also in terror and trembling in both. in both beauty and absolute frozen tininess in the grand scheme of it all. Final outcome, we are facing fears. Facing fears. Facing the fear deactivates its power. We are most afraid of the unknown. Avoiding what you fear magnifies the illusion and distorts the truth. The fear can tell you something valuable about yourself and point out your most powerful area of expansion. Facing your fears makes you magnetic. Wow, what a powerful, powerful message so far. It's really, really, really uniform. A lot of continuity here. Let's grab 4 tarot cards to kind of synopsize our message. We have 2 of Wands, right? So it's like things are coming together and now we're waiting for the ship to come in, literally. This is like the people waiting on that good news. It's like we're all standing here like edging on the edge of our seats, waiting for a shift in energy, waiting for something to budge with the effort, right? And so it's like we're getting things together. We're gathering our wherewithal and our energy and our inner resources and our inner strength. And we know that we're about to embark on a new journey into a new story. And so we're waiting for the next phase of the story to reveal itself. Okay, oh my goodness, we have another 2. We have 2 of Pentacles. So yes, it's like we're balancing our inner journey to self-discovery with our outer actions and the things that we do. And so our soul's work kind of parallels our outer deeds and works in the world, or it directly does. But sometimes it kind of cross points with our specific career, but either way, it goes with us to our work every day because we're interacting with the world and with people. So, there's a lot to be done and there's a lot going on, even just keeping up with mundane life anymore, plus nurturing our soul. There's just so much demand on us, and if you want to create anything extra or do anything more or help out, it's like you have to be able to do this in a sustainable way. And the only way to do this sustainably is to keep a light heart about it. And it's funny too, because during a lull, I remember seeing a teaching. It talked about how laughter cancels out judgment, and laughter is good, and laughter is protective, and laughter actually keeps us protected, and it surrounds us in light. And that's why it's always the comedians that are under such a fire that come to fire first, right? But even on, I saw a video from the flotilla, and one of the leaders of this humanitarian mission was hamming it up with like one of the comedians, and they were kind of making a satirical statement in a lighthearted way. And it's funny, she's always so serious. And I was like, oh wow, like I guess it, even people in the greatest distress right now, they long for like these moments of lightheartedness and laughter as well, but in a way, that moment where it was still respectful of what they were doing. They were just pointing out the irony of part of the situation, and it was like I felt like, oh wow, maybe that act of just lightheartedness and silliness in the midst of such a heavy situation actually added light to their boat and added protection and just being able to keep up the morale even with what they're doing. I mean, they're facing like the most terrifying situation. It's like they're going right into the danger. It's just incredible. So what we do, in these times, stress is high and people are on edge, and the best that we can do is just bring a lightness with us and try to, maintain that sense of joy and that sense of happiness whenever we can. Even in the darkest times. One thing that has been so galvanizing to me to see is images of the little children over there in the midst of the destruction and the rubble, just trying to have moments of fun. Like they pulled up a truck with a tarp in it and they made a little swimming pool for the children in the midst of a battlefield so that the children could have a carefree moment. And just the people around them, like just looking on, and it was just a moment of release and just to forget even for a second. And then there's this other person who is like, will dress up in this clown suit for these children and do the dance around and be silly. And you have to think about people on the move for their very life and having to grab only the necessities. And this person has kept up with this clown suit, this clown makeup for these little kids. People have the greatest capacity to be resilient and to be sharing even in the darkest moments, and that's what protects us. That's what brings harmony and stability and goodness. And I'm hoping that we can bring in harmony and peace and goodness and unity into humanity again. The coming of the Messiah is not just about somebody coming back and fixing all the problems, but it's when we hit a critical mass of our shift in consciousness where we can no longer stomach pain and death and suffering in the world. And we let go of the egoic things that we cling to that perpetuate that pain and death and suffering. Two of Swords. Breaking through the indecision that's keeping us blind and frozen. Right? The Two of Swords is about two opposing forces that are equal and are caught in a stalemate. And that's where we're at right now. We're at an impasse. And we have to shift and we have to tip the scales, but it's not going to be through force. It's going to be through a shift in consciousness. It's going to be through a tipping point of a critical mass awakening and having a change of heart. And it's happening in unexpected ways and with unexpected things triggering that awakening for different people, right? So can't give up hope because people can change. And it sometimes is the most random things that you think, oh, it wasn't that thing. That wasn't the line for you. But whatever, we'll take what we can get, right? All right, let's actually grab a Lunation card and then we will grab an Angel Wisdom Tarot card. All right, you're very close to achieving your goal at the gibbous moon. All right, so hold on to hope, right? The last hour is so many times the darkest, and it is that moment where we look at the darkness in the face, and in the face of just the bleakness, we overcome. And so we pray that we are close to achieving our goal. And our goal is the end of pain and suffering in the world. Our goal is awakening and being on path and in alignment and in good standing and in the image of the Creator. Release. We have the Death card. This came out when I dropped the cards too. Endings that lead to new beginnings. The need to release situations or people that hold you back, spiritual transformation. We are literally in the last hours right now as I record this of the spiritual year of 24-25. And we are beginning our new spiritual new year through the passage of these days and this holiday after the 6th day of creation here. Okay. grab a few cards to do with our manifestation over the next 2 weeks during the waxing cycle. What should we do? What should we be aware of? And this week in general, the energy asks us to take one simple action towards this new effort, this new covenant, this new person that we are becoming, the new habits that we want to create and towards this shift. So pay attention, notice repetitious signs and your inner guidance, as this can yield valuable information. So similar cards have been coming up recently asking us to watch out for synchronicities and signs and messages coming through. Ready, set, go. Now's the perfect moment to dive in and embrace your heart's desire. Okay, so not a minute to waste. We're literally hours out of eclipse season at this point, and the universe is like, all right, go. No more waiting. Like we've gone through eclipse season. We're done. Now the energy is like this slingshot, and so now you want to ride the momentum of all of the energy that's been building over the last couple of weeks. Set your sights higher. Increase your standards and expect more for yourself. Don't settle. So don't settle for the past you, right? We have to set ourselves a higher bar and a higher standard and set greater expectations of ourselves in order to achieve what we want and in order to achieve our true potential. And it has to do with our worthiness. When we feel worthy, we show up for ourselves. And when we show up for ourselves, we feel worthy. Now remember, we already talked about this. Our inherent worth is unchanging. We are 100% worthy. But how we feel, if we feel like we're worthy, if we think we're worthy, then we show up for ourselves and we follow through. If we don't think we're worthy, then we sabotage ourselves. Right? Even when we do make an effort, we sabotage that effort through those patterns. But when we start to believe that we are worthy, then we respect ourselves more and we don't want to ruin our progress or waste our own time and effort, right? So it's like this chicken and the egg situation, is that when we start to show up for ourselves and we honor ourselves and we're true to ourselves and we protect ourselves and we learn to trust ourselves, we begin to feel more worthy and we begin to perceive ourselves as more worthy because we're investing in ourselves, right? And then when we believe we're worthy, we continue to show up better for ourselves, right? So it's a self fulfilling thing. It builds its own momentum. But it works the other way too. If we don't feel worthy, then we take greater and greater action against ourselves, or we don't take action for ourselves. We don't advocate for ourselves. So for the next 2 weeks for our love life, we have very soon. So clearly decide what you want so that it comes to you now. So as we are getting into this new vibration of self, we're going to be emanating a new vibration, a new consciousness, a new energy, a new identity. So now it's like we need to re-examine, are we attracted to the same thing? Have we changed our values or taste or honed in and become more clear about those things? And maybe we should get more clear about what it is that we want, because the universe, when it can land on a signal and when we're clear about what we can articulate about what we want in a partnership, then the universe can send it our way. When those options do start showing up, we have to be our authentic selves and be willing to speak from the heart, have heart conversations, and be who we truly are. That way we can really evaluate, is this going to be a core compatibility or not? So honestly, discuss your feelings with each other. So yeah, don't waste your time playing games or trying to force something to work because you're attracted to someone. Look at what really is compatible and who's showing you value, and then choose and figure out who you're attracted to out of those people who value you truly, who see your value. Let go of control issues. We can't control the timing. We can't control how it happens. Allow the situation to unfold naturally. And when we don't feel like we need to control the situation, it puts so much less pressure on meeting people and developing feelings or romances. It's like when someone feels like there's absolutely no pressure, like they are like they're almost like caught off guard, right? Because their guard's down, they're having a good time, they're not feeling like they have to like watch what they do or say, or like I don't want to lead them too far, or what, you know. It's like if the person is trying to control the situation and they're trying too hard to make you like them, or vice versa, if you're like people pleasing to want to keep somebody there, then it's just like a spectrum of love bombing, and it's a disingenuous. So it's like, show up, be yourself, you know, allow someone the safety to be themselves so that you can clearly see who they are, who you are, and be honest about whether or not it's going to be compatible, and don't try to control it, and see how it unfolds naturally. Like, let someone show you what effort they're really going to make without you having to micromanage it. Like, stay out of it. Like, see what they do. Just let them show themselves to you without interfering. Deception. Yeah, because people will put on a mask and they'll present a false self. They're going to show you their best advertisement and then wait till you're hooked in, and then start resting on their laurels and go back to who they really are, right? So don't deceive yourself in the beginning if you're trying to chase after someone who's not showing you that they're trying to chase after you. Right? If you're trying to go after someone and win them over and go over the top to like prove you're blah, 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 you're deceiving yourself. It's not ever going to work. Like, maybe for a minute because the person's going to be excited and flattered, but it'll wear off. And if it's not authentic, you know? So give someone a chance to show you who they really are without you trying to force them to be who you hope they are, right? So let that really show. Someone is wearing a false mask in this relationship. Don't be the one wearing the false mask in the relationship, but also don't be the one who like can obviously see the mask, but you're like choosing plausible deniability. Like, don't do that anymore. All right, let's get some loving motherly advice from Mary, Jesus' mom. Trust and prayer. I love it. I know that God in his infinite wisdom and love is answering my prayers right now. So we pray for a thing and we believe that we've already received it. Prayer. Instead of worrying, I pray about the situation to bring about real solutions. Instead of worrying, I pray about this situation to bring real solutions. We pray from a sense of proactiveness. We pray that God will help us merit the answer, right? Because maybe we're still in the process and we don't want to bypass the process, right? My teacher pointed out something really, really good to clarify in class the other day. Many times, like, people's personal issues come up and we workshop them in class. And so we were talking about like worries, right? Or a situation playing out and having uncertainty. And somebody said, what for? Everything, it's all for the good anyway, right? It's all good. Why be uncertain? Why be worried? What's the point of worry if it's all good? And so my teacher David pointed out, he's like, that could be spiritual bypassing, essentially is what he said. It could be that you're skipping the process, right? Because we don't want to jump straight to certainty. We don't want to jump over the doubt, because then that's just ignoring the doubt. It's not dealing with it. It's just putting it under the rug for another day. And you're just ignoring your doubt and going straight to certainty. And, you know, it's like you're posturing, but you didn't really do the work to get there. Whereas if you go through the doubt, right, you feel the doubt, you sit in it, and you restrict, and you don't react to the doubt, and you don't act on the doubt. You're just like, oh my gosh, this doubt is so uncomfortable, but you sit with it, you examine it, and you work through it to find certainty on the other side of the doubt. You didn't ignore the doubt. You didn't repress the doubt. You really transformed it. You really learned to be in the face of that fear, but still trust the Creator and find peace through that discomfort. See the difference? One is avoidant and repressing, and the other is true restriction and transformation. Okay, and then let's get loving words from Jesus. Actually, I need to grab one of the cards out from last time. Ooh, card under the couch. What was that one? Ooh, the sun. I love it. A time for great joy and success, brilliant epiphanies that lead to magical opportunities, plans that work out perfectly, gratitude to the divine. So what did we just say? Pray and trust and be in gratitude that it's already a done deal. All right, so loving words from Jesus. What does Jesus got to say? What does Jesus have to tell us right now? For Rosh Hashanah, be of good comfort. Your faith has made you whole. This is what it's all about. Be of good comfort. Your faith has made you whole. The faith that you have that you're worthy. The faith that you have in Christ's words telling you, you are worthy. You are inherently good. You are inherently worthy of the kingdom. You are inherently worthy of goodness and happiness and joy and love. Be of good comfort. Your faith has made you whole. You are well. If you are suffering with a malady or an ailment, you are well. Your faith has made you whole. When this thing has done its thing on you, when the process is complete, you will be healed. My mom had this, no one could diagnose her ailment. She had this thing, they were like, it's nervous system related. Nobody knew whether it was in her shoulder or her neck. Everybody had different theories, nobody could figure it out, but she had these she had these dizzy spells that would come over her and these spells of weakness, and she just could not go out and do her normal thing through the day. And it was getting progressively worse over the years. And then she's had a lot of other severe body pain and joint pain over the years that really took a toll on her quality of life and her happiness. And I can tell you that for years, it wasn't getting into her psyche at all. She just couldn't, she was wrestling and fighting that she was having to go through it. And she knew there was some reason, but she didn't understand what it was. And she just kept praying for God to heal her. And she kept thinking that it was because she didn't have enough faith that God would heal her. I think she kept feeling like she was beat up about it. And so one day I prayed for her in the car. And I said, please allow her to see the purpose that this is trying to serve or teach her so that she can finally let it go and she doesn't need it anymore. Let her get the gift or purpose from this that she needs so she no longer needs it. And it was the first time she said that changed her whole way of seeing it. It was the first time she didn't feel like she was being punished or something, like there was something in it that had something to give her, that she had something to take from that. And it wasn't like she had done something awful she'd been punished for. And so it was little by little, she kept having these realizations and epiphanies over the next couple of years. And she kept going through doctor after doctor. And we kept thinking that we would get the solution and wouldn't, and solution and wouldn't. And finally, after a few more really pivotal insights that she's had over the last few months, she went to church one night and they just suggested that the person next to them prayed for the person next to them. And this guy who said he's young guy, was really cute. She thinks he's really cute. He prayed for her and she has been better ever since. She has not had these spells, right? And so sometimes it's just a matter of slowing down and getting into the thing and asking it what it's here to give you. And that's when you can complete the contract with it. But if there's still work to be done and the contract's not complete, then it's just you're just prolonging the process, right? So we don't want to bypass things. We don't want to claim, I believe, and just to try to force it through. We have to be honest about where we really are in it, but we have to let that break us open and let it work its magic, work its miracle juice on us, right? So be of good comfort. Your faith has made you whole. Your faith has made you whole. All right. That is all for tonight. Tomorrow night is Rosh Hashanah. I am planning on doing our usual reading or a video. But if not, if I don't end up showing up, that is why, because it is the big food feast night. I might be doing a lot of kitchen cleaning and stuff at the end of tomorrow night. So I'm not sure if I'll have time during the day also to pull the cards for Monday, but I have a good feeling about it. So we'll see what happens. But if not, you'll have a couple of videos to catch up on. You've got Mary Magdalene, part 2 of the introduction. That was really good, from Secret Teachings of Jesus. You guys have got the weekly energy oracle forecast. And you got some things to think about after this workshop too. So peace be with you guys. Love and ciao.